Hey, welcome back. Brent Sebold here. Just to recap, we're in part 2, actually part 3, working through some of the symptoms, challenges affiliated with doing venture development within the context of higher education. And within higher ed, we've experimented a lot in the realm of startup competitions, new venture challenges, so on and so forth. We've learned what works and sometimes what doesn't related to incubator models. And of course, we've ridden the wave of the accelerator VC-driven approach over the past, better part of the past decade here. So how might we improve or act upon some of the challenges we faced with each, if not all of these legacy models? So I want to get into number 2 here on this list, this pain point of developing all. Many of us would agree that our mission is to serve our entire student body, and as universities, many times our mission is to serve our entire community, if not our state, if not a larger swath of the population. So how do we put ourselves in a position to develop all practicing entrepreneurs who want to opt into playing this sport, learning and developing an entrepreneurial mindset vis-a-vis the development of an actual startup, whether that be in class or outside of class or a blend of those two things. So let's get into this number 2 on the list, and then the final video of this series will be looking at timelines affiliated with these various models. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, but one of the biggest pain points I've had over the past 5+ years of running venture development programs here at ASU is obviously looking for the best startup in our funding cohort, the program that we have, where we've got the best of the best. We spent the past year trying to find who are the 20 best startups that are going to go into this program, and then within of those 20, there's always going to be 2 or 3 that are the rock stars that are just have that opportunity to go on to become unicorns. Turns out, at least for us, that unicorns that have found their way into the marketplace didn't pass go through any of our programs at ASU, but I have no doubt that our love and support of entrepreneurship at ASU hopefully had an impact on those folks. So we do want to claim a unicorn, but in doing so, we don't want to turn away aspiring founders from the faculty ranks or the student ranks. So let's look at some of the ways we've addressed that. So some of the symptoms of this challenge, whenever, if you're in a position where you hit send on an email that goes out to 5, 10, 100, 500, 1,000 students, faculty or otherwise, that says, hey, thanks for applying, try again next month, next year, that's a problem. I personally had a huge issue with hitting send on that email. Luckily, I only had to do it annually, but in some cases, when you add up all the different competitions, all of the different accelerator programs, there's always going to be this constituency of people that are applying to multiple support opportunities that might continually be turned away. And then in doing so, those people are going to have a chip on their shoulder, right? So they're going to continue to develop whatever they're working on without your support. So what opportunities might they be missing from our program, from our offering? So those are things that always weighed on me, and I'm assuming weigh on many of you. So if we work through that as it pertains to legacy models of competitions, incubators, and accelerators, there's no easy solution because each one of those models is relatively constrained in terms of how many founders and how many startups you can process at any given time. Now, I am aware there are hybrid models that do address that, but from what I've seen, there aren't any hybrid models that have been specifically developed with an eye directly at higher ed venture development. So that's why I'm introducing, and again, I'm not convinced it's the absolute right title, but a league, and I make the argument to my students and my colleagues and fellow faculty members at ASU that it's not dissimilar from inviting people to participate in in sports. So I don't want to go overly prescriptive with this sports analogy, but it's not a lot different than expecting every single affiliate to our university is expected to be a fan of our athletic environment. So if you come to ASU, you're supposed to be a fan of Sparky and the Sun Devils, right? Similarly, if you come to ASU, it's part of our charter, it's part of our design that you're a fan of an entrepreneurial mindset. You value entrepreneurship and innovation in all of its form. So right there, we have a very analogous situation where we're expecting everybody to be fans of athletics, and we're expecting everybody to be fans of entrepreneurship and an entrepreneurial mindset. So applying this analogy further, we invite all students and affiliates to participate in sport. You can do so at the rec facility level. You can do that at the intramural level. You can do that at the club level. You can do that at the, if you're so fortunate, JV varsity level. And if you really play your cards right, you can go on to the Olympics and you can go into professional practice. So totally possible for every single constituent, whether you have a disability, regardless of your gender, your race, your creed, your religion, sport is ubiquitous, right? So again, I'm not trying to shove sport down everybody's throat. All I'm saying, it's a great analogy for entrepreneurship because of many factors, including competition, including camaraderie, including community of practice, so on and so forth. So if we apply that analogy to entrepreneurship and venture development, we are inviting practitioners of all levels, from intramural all the way to pro and everything in between, to come in to this league of venture development. So the first thing you get as an athlete, in most cases, is some form of structure, which a model has, so we won't go into too much detail about the structure of the league, so to speak, but first thing you get is coaching. So we're going to make the case here that coaching is synonymous with mentoring. And in the world of higher education, mentoring is equal to teaching. So we're big fans of, obviously, the work of Y Combinator and Techstars, and the gentleman behind Techstars, Brad Feld, and Dave Cohen, wrote a mentor manifesto, and it really stuck with me. I read this back in 2011, and they said, if you want, actually I think Brad Feld credited another author with a big chunk of the manifesto, but if you're going to be a great mentor, you want to be Socratic. And when I hear the term Socratic, I think of teaching over millennia, right? So if all athletes get a good coach, and that coach helps them develop over time, then all startups or all aspiring founders should get a good mentor who helps them thoughtfully think through all of the hypotheses, all of the questions, all of the trial and error over time. So they are going to become teachers, right? So this is probably the most compelling component of this league model that I'm personally very proud of, that I'm anxious to share with all of you, my colleagues, is this concept of developing a mentoring program that is repeatable and fully scalable, and it mirrors our core competency within higher ed, which is teaching, right? So if we have a legitimate business model around teaching and learning, why can't that exact same business model be leveraged to teach aspiring entrepreneurs in the spirit of our mission as a university? And so far, since we've enacted this what we call a venture mentor program, we've seen at least the model work, so that we can be in a position to mentor everyone who wants to opt into the league, right? So this is the big difference, right? So we've been, one of the constraints of running a competition, an incubator, or an accelerator is the mentoring piece. And if we all agree, and we took a cue from Techstars and read Do Great, Do More Faster, and other books of the same ilk, we needed to invest in a mentoring program to make it work, right? Whether that's full-time staff, part-time staff, consultants, EIRs, you name it, I've heard it, I've tried it, right? But none of those things enabled us to meet every single person that wanted to try at the intramural level, at the club level, the JV level, and the varsity level. But our venture mentor program and our mentor network is meeting that need. Now, are the mentors in a position right now to help us develop and launch those unicorns? Not yet, but the baseline ingredient has been set up. So we'll see. The other thing here in terms of missed opportunities is, bringing down the walls, in many cases, the theoretical and the antiquated mechanisms to come into this league. So if we're asking these kind of stealth mode ninja latent entrepreneurs to go through this arduous task of even filling out the forms to get into the league, they're never going to come in the first place. So we want to make it very accessible. We want to have a very predictable cadence of on-ramps into this league. And once you're in, we want to make it competitive and make it feel like it's helping you develop. And so what I hear from a lot of the founders, both students and faculty and otherwise, is, wow, this, the mentorship and the program is just giving me that crack of the whip that I needed to keep moving, my crazy startup forward. So, that's half the battle. It's just like in sports, right? You need some mechanism to get you out into the field or to the pool or to wherever it is that you do the work to improve. So this is the league model, and it really stems from this concept of coaching and mentoring and longitudinally developing with an eye towards a championship. And championship in the world of entrepreneurship equals product market fit at repeatable and scalable levels, so that we can move the needle on economic and societal impact using entrepreneurship as a force for good, which we fully believe in here, and I'm very confident you do as well. So these are some of the key aspects of the challenges we face with all three of the legacy models, and we're hopeful that this one in particular, this mentorship network, this mechanism to provide coaching for everybody that wants to play the sport, can be helpful to you.